Why is it that so many of us spend our lives trying to convince the people we care about, especially women we're interested in, of our value? You craft the perfect texts, explaining your achievements, you rehearse stories that highlight your best qualities, you desperately try to prove that you're worth their time and attention. And somehow, the more you explain, the less they seem to see it. Think about it. When was the last time you found yourself over-explaining your accomplishments, your character, or your intentions to a woman you were attracted to? That moment when you realized you were talking too much, trying too hard, and watching her interest fade with each additional word. You were raised to believe that if you could just make a strong enough case, if you could just find the right combination of words, people would finally understand your worth. But that's not how human connection works, is it? What if I told you that your worth isn't something you explain? It's something you embody. It's not a speech. It's a presence. The truth that nobody tells you is this. Explaining your worth doesn't just fail to convince her, it actively undermines her perception of your value. Every time you try to verbally justify why she should value you, you're subconsciously telling both of you that you don't truly believe it yourself. There's a fundamental misalignment happening here. You think the problem is that she doesn't see your worth clearly enough. But the real problem? You're looking for external validation of something that can only be generated from within. Let's explore why we fall into this trap. From an early age, many of us, especially men, are conditioned to believe that our value lies in what we do, what we achieve, and what we can prove to others. We're taught that if we can just present enough evidence of our worthiness, our intelligence, our success, our reliability, then people will have no choice but to recognize and respect us. But think about the people in your life who command the most respect, the ones who naturally draw others toward them. Do they spend their time explaining why they should be valued, or do they simply move through the world with an unshakable sense of their own worth? The self-explanatory man doesn't need to tell anyone why he's valuable. He knows it in his bones. And that quiet confidence is magnetic in a way that words could never be. This isn't about false bravado or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about reconnecting with the fundamental truth that your worth isn't contingent on someone else's validation of it. Your worth exists independently of whether anyone recognizes it, including the woman you're interested in. But how, you might be asking? How do I stop explaining and start embodying my worth? The shift begins with awareness. Start noticing when you slip into explanation mode. That moment when you feel the urge to list your accomplishments, to justify your opinions, to prove that you're good enough. Just observe it without judgment. This awareness alone will begin to loosen the grip of this pattern. The next step is to practice what I call comfortable silence. When you feel the impulse to fill the space with explanations of your worth, simply breathe. Allow there to be space in the conversation. This isn't about being mysterious or playing games. It's about becoming comfortable with who you are without the constant need to justify it. Remember, strong men aren't afraid of silence. They understand that their presence speaks volumes that words never could. Third, redirect your focus from gaining approval to creating value in the moment. Instead of trying to convince her that you're worthy of her attention, concentrate on making the interaction worthwhile for both of you. Ask genuine questions. Listen actively. Share authentically without attachment to how your sharing is received. When you shift from, how can I make her see my worth, to, how can I create value in this interaction regardless of the outcome, something remarkable happens. You naturally become more attractive because you're no longer coming from a place of need. This isn't a technique or a tactic. It's a fundamental shift in how you show up in relationships, and it begins with recognizing a painful truth. No amount of explaining will ever fill the void of not truly believing in your own intrinsic worth. I want you to imagine something. Think about a time when you were completely in your element. Maybe you were engaged in a hobby you love, having a deep conversation with a close friend, or working on a project that fully absorbed you. In that state, you weren't thinking about how you were being perceived. You weren't trying to prove anything to anyone. You were simply present, engaged, and alive. That state, that natural confidence that comes from being fully present and engaged, is what women find genuinely attractive. Not your carefully crafted explanations of why they should value you. Now, here's where many men get stuck. They intellectually understand this concept, but they still don't know how to bridge the gap between knowing and being. They grasp that they shouldn't be explaining their worth, but they don't know what to do instead. The answer lies in developing what I call self-contained worth. This is the ability to validate yourself from within, rather than seeking that validation from others. especially from women you're attracted to. Self-contained worth is built through consistent self-respect. It means keeping the promises you make to yourself. It means establishing healthy boundaries and honoring them. It means speaking your truth even when it's uncomfortable. And most importantly, it means treating yourself with the same dignity and respect that you hope others will show you. When you truly embody self-contained worth, magical things start to happen in your relationships with women. The dynamic shifts. You're no longer trying to convince her of anything. You're simply offering her the opportunity to be part of your reality, a reality that's fulfilling whether she chooses to be part of it or not. This is not about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming non-needy. There's a world of difference between the two. Indifference means you don't care. Non-neediness means you care deeply, but your self-worth isn't dependent on a particular outcome. So, what does this look like in practice? First, it means being honest about your interest without attaching your worth to her response. I enjoy spending time with you, and I'd like to take you out this weekend, carries a very different energy than, please give me a chance to show you how good I could be for you. Second, it means being willing to express your authentic self without diluting or exaggerating who you are. If you disagree with something she says, respectfully say so. If something matters to you, don't minimize it to appear agreeable. Real connection is built on authenticity, not performance. Third, it means being willing to walk away from situations and people who don't value you appropriately. This is perhaps the most powerful demonstration of self-contained worth. When you're willing to lose someone rather than compromise your fundamental sense of self, you paradoxically become more attractive. I've seen this transformation countless times. Men who stop explaining their worth and start embodying it consistently report not just better results with women, but a profound shift in how they experience themselves. They describe feeling lighter, more confident, and more at peace, regardless of what's happening in their dating lives. There's a certain irony here that's worth pointing out. The less you need a particular woman to validate your worth, the more likely she is to see it clearly. This isn't manipulation, it's simply human nature. We're naturally drawn to people who have a solid sense of who they are. But here's the critical distinction. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to have self-contained worth as a strategy to become more attractive. Women have incredibly sensitive radars for authenticity. They can feel the difference between genuine self-assurance and a performance designed to elicit a particular response. The work has to be real. The shift has to be internal. And it begins with a simple but profound choice. Will you continue searching for external validation of your worth, or will you commit to becoming the source of your own validation? This journey isn't always easy. You'll have moments of doubt. You'll find yourself slipping back into explanation mode. You'll face situations that trigger your old insecurities. But with consistent practice and self-compassion, the new pattern will gradually become your default. And one day, you'll notice something has changed. You'll be in the presence of a woman you find attractive, and you'll realize you have no impulse to prove anything to her. You'll be fully present, engaged in the moment, expressing yourself clearly and confidently without attachment to the outcome. In that moment, you'll understand what I mean when I say your worth isn't something you explain, it's something you embody. Remember, the goal isn't to become worthy. You already are. The goal is to align your behavior with that truth so profoundly that it becomes impossible for others not to see it. Stop explaining your worth. Start living it. She'll notice. And even if she doesn't, you will. And ultimately, that's what matters most. Because when you truly value yourself from within, her validation becomes a welcome addition to your life, not the foundation of your sense of self. And ironically, that's exactly when you'll find women responding to you in ways you've always hoped for, but could never achieve through explanation. The choice is yours. Will you continue trying to convince her of your worth?